would like you to forget about the lost Liberal decade. They say, let's ignore whatever happened. Pretend it wasn't there, even though all the same Liberal MPs, Liberal ministers, Liberal advisors are still running the Liberal show. But I'm here to tell you that that Liberal record is not just about the past.
Okay, this is just the most ridiculous thing for me when people think that something's going to change with Mark Carney. Like, Mark Carney was advisor to Justin Trudeau. Mark Carney was elected leader of a Liberal political party. Do you really think that the Liberals would elect someone who's going to go against the values of Liberals? And do you really think what we experienced this past 10 years is not who Liberals really are? It doesn't reflect their values, how they don't care about Canadians, how they're all for DEI and woke stuff that actually hurts everyone in Canada. And the housing crisis is there, inflation is crazy, we have to deal with carbon tax for the longest time, and the law is still there. Carney just made it zero, but he can restore it anytime he wants. And he left the industrial carbon tax, which means the consumers are still paying more than they should because of his decisions. But anyway, that went a little too far than I wanted. It's ridiculous to me that people think something will change because it's still the same party. You're still voting for Liberals. It's not going to change because they put a new face in the office. Like, they wouldn't elect anyone who would go against the Liberal values. Come on, people, wake up.
It's about a very dark future if they're reelected. Now, don't take my word for it. Look at this report. This is from the Government of Canada.
Uh-oh.
It's got the logo of the government right here. Here, look real close. The media can't deny that it comes from the government. It says Canada at the bottom. It's got the Canada logo. And the government has confirmed this is a real document. The reason I have to say that is because its findings are so horrific. They predict what Canada will look like on the current trajectory. Now let me turn to page 3. And the section is actually entitled.
That's bad. Let me guess. I actually saw some article about it. Predictions are that we're gonna have to fish and hunt for our food. And I wouldn't be surprised. Did you see Vancouver? There's that one street that's just density. And that's incredibly sad that we got into this stage. And we have so much land. Why aren't we building more? We have so much natural heritage. Why are we so poor? And I actually saw some statistics in last 10 years, like how the economy in Canada grew in comparison to other countries. And we went from one of the strongest countries to one of the bottom ones, like given the growth, GDP and all of that, which is ridiculous. Like, we are a rich country, so why aren't we allowed to unleash all of these resources we have over here? Why are we facing Bill C-69 that's blocking us from becoming one of the most powerful countries in the world, like economic powerhouse? Why are they blocking us from having a good quality of life that we had during the Prime Minister Harper, right? During the Conservatives when they were in power. Like, what's going on? Like, it's not in the best interest of Canadians. So whose best interest is it for? Like, I know with Mark Carney right now, there's so much conflict of interest. And even when he was advisor, obviously this net zero things, like the Brookfield invested in all of this net zero project. So even when he was advisor, it's still conflict of interest, right? Obviously, he was making some money out of it since his firm was investing in what he's advising to do to Justin Trudeau, right? Like carbon tax, try to reach net zero, and out of nowhere, Brookfield is investing in all of these net zero projects. So obviously you make some money. But now as a prime minister, it's so shocking that he still has that conflict of interest and he's still going for that instead of helping Canadians. But anyway, let's see what's this prediction for future.
I'm quoting here. more snakes than ladders. I'm not kidding. That's why they wrote it. It's written down right here. In 2040, they predict, upward social mobility is almost unheard of in Canada. Hardly anyone believes they can build a better life for themselves or their children through their own efforts. However, many worry about sliding down the social order. Now,
There's a
this
snake.
is bureaucraties, but I can translate. I've been reading bureaucraties in the government for long enough. What this means is, no matter how hard you work, you won't be able to get ahead. In fact, you might start falling behind.
Well, that's very real even now. Like, you take overtimes to pay the bills off. You don't take overtimes to buy something extra that you don't need, you just want. No, you take overtime to pay the bills, and you're still stressed that you won't have enough to pay the bills. You won't have enough money to put the food on the table. And that's the situation now. So can you imagine how much worse it's gonna take, or it's gonna get, if the Liberals win? Like, it's crazy.
Then they say
Like, we're
that
there.
pursuing a post-secondary education will no longer be considered a reliable path to social mobility. In other words, you can study
It's
all
not
you want,
even
you can
now.
learn all you want, you still won't get ahead. Then they say, in 2040, people see inheritance as the only way to get ahead.
Yeah,
Society, listen to this.
but it's now.
Society, and I'm quoting, society increasingly resembles an aristocracy. Wealth and status pass down the generations. Family background, especially owning property, divides the haves and the have-nots. In 2040, people rarely mix with others of different socioeconomic status. In other
Just to go back into the inheritance, like, that's the situation right now. What are we talking 2040? Like, even now the grandparents are selling their houses just to be able to retire. So there's not gonna be anything the future generations will inherit. And like, you can try to buy a house so your kids will eventually inherit it, but are you gonna be able to afford it when the mortgage is 30 years? Are you gonna stay with one good job for 30 years? Are you gonna be able to pay it off? Or are you gonna sell it when you can make some profit and retire? Because, yeah, like, the situation's right now. It's exactly what he's talking about. It's not about 2040, it's 2025. And if we don't change it, it's gonna be 2026, 2027, and then eventually by 2040, there's not even gonna be Canada. Like, I'm sorry if that's how I look at it. Like, we're always mad about Trump or President Trump making all of these remarks about 51st state, but if Liberals win, eventually that would be the best option for Canadians. Because like, the affordability crisis is real. You're no longer thinking about future, you're thinking how to survive another day, how to survive another month. Like, it's just ridiculous.
other words, there's a tiny group of aristocrats on the top, and everyone else is left behind. They don't even talk to each other. Then they go on to say in this report, the Canadian economy could shrink and become less predictable. Property capital for investment in new enterprises may concentrate in the hands of a small number of very wealthy older people. Property ownership, and by extension wealth, may become even more concentrated if generations abandon the idea of single-family dwellings in favor of renting or forming alternative households. That's exactly the Liberal ideology, that nobody should own a home, everyone should just be stuck paying exorbitant rents in properties not big enough to raise families. More people, then they say...
I mean, to be fair, do you ever really own the home? Like, you can pay $400K for the house. You can pay it on hand, like no mortgage, nothing. But then you have property taxes, right? You miss 2 years of property taxes and they will just take your home. That's it. It's never really yours. Like, that's it. Like, it's hard to swallow. But you actually don't owe don't own anything in this life. Because they can take it like this.
people's mental health will suffer. More people struggle to afford rent, bills, and groceries. The
Again,
resulting
that's
stress
happening now.
could worsen mental health challenges. This would increase demand for social services. Now, this last line is really most startling of all.
Okay,
They
let's see.
believe that people might have to look for alternative means of seeking sustenance because food prices will become
That's
so
what I heard.
unaffordable that no longer will working class people be able to go to the grocery store anymore. So we will go from what we have now, which is people go up to the till, and when they're paying, they actually have to put things back in the bag and send them back because the bank account is emptied before they've gotten through the entire bill. Worse than that, they say people will have to hunt, fish, and forage on public lands and waterways without reference to regulations. In other words, people will be in a position where they will need to pay to feed themselves. That's right. That's a good point. You know, it's funny. You make a great point. We were on CBC the other day, had a panel about this report. And of course, the CBC talking head was saying, oh, come on, this is so exaggerated. That's never going to happen in Canada. And to her credit, one of the Globe and Mail reporters said, wait a sec here. For a lot of Canadians, this is the way it is right now.
Yeah,
my friends,
exactly.
there are people in this country just hanging on by a thread.
Yep.
And it is for those people that we are fighting. We are here to give them hope and change and a better future.
Yeah, and that's that's the craziest thing. Like, yes, this report is bullshit because it's not gonna happen in 2040. It's happening right now, and if it's happening right now, how long do you think it's gonna take until we start hunting, until we start fishing, until we start foraging? It's not gonna be 2040. If the Liberals win another term, it's gonna happen 2028, 2027. Because even now, people have hard time to afford groceries. People have to return stuff from their cart. Probably the stuff they need. Because nowadays, you don't even buy anything extra. You literally buy what you need. And just for comparison, 2 years ago, I bought groceries for $200 and it lasted the whole week. Now, I pay double. I go to grocery store twice, and each time I visit, it's $200. It's ridiculous. And how do you think my salary got higher? Do you think if I had the same job I had before, I would be able to afford any of these? No, the salary is still the same. And even the job I have now, the salary went $1 up comparing to what it was 2 years ago. Like, how do you expect people to afford something extra, to afford living? Like I said, you're going for overtime just to pay off your bills, just to put the food on the table. It's ridiculous. So yeah, if you want that to change, or if you even want to have a hope for it to change, because I can bet you that it's not going to change if you vote for Liberals. It's going to change, but for worse. It's not going to get better. It's not going to stay the same. It's going to get worse, because for 10 years, they allowed it to happen. So again, if you want to vote for change, or vote for hope that it's ever going to get better, vote for Conservatives. Like it's ridiculous that I have to say vote for hope. But that's the situation Canada is right now. So for me, vote Conservatives, vote for Pierre Poilievre, and let's make it about Canada. Let's make Canada first. Let's restore the Canadian promise again.